All right. Well, we'll open up with opening statements. You have 3 minutes. That would be just fine. Yeah.
We're going to maybe go through the plan really quickly first.
Planning first.
Do you want to, or do you want to say first? I'm sorry.
That would be great.
Okay. All right. So you can find the draft of the deconsolidation plan on the district's website. It's under Board of Trustees. And when you open that, you'll find deconsolidation information. And when you find that, you will now see draft 1 and draft 2, or plan 1 and plan 2. The reason there are 2 was based on the hearing that was held in Grangeville the other night. We added some information and corrected a misspelled word. Poor Harpster was hamster that night. And so we did make some edits. And so to be as clear as possible, to show that we are hearing and making these changes, that's why you see Plan 1, Plan 2. We want to make sure that that information is in there. And then additionally, the hearing recordings will go, there's a link there for the hearing recordings, as well as maps that we will find, which are the proposed districts, if you want to look at those maps. There's also a link in the document if you want to go to the GIS site that is held by the county. And if you go to that, I encourage you to click around a lot. There's a lot of layers, a lot of information in there, and it has a book divided by Clearwater Valley and Grangeville, and then also the trustee zones are in there, and information about population, property values, number of parcels, all of that kind of information. So that's a great site to go to. I'm going to very quickly go through that deconsolidation plan for you that is on the website. Hopefully that'll answer some of your questions now, and then we'll come back to those when you have time to speak. So the priority of the whole draft is to make sure that they are making sure that they're meeting the best interest of the students. I have said, unfortunately, this is a lot like a divorce, and divorces that are most healthy are the divorces that the children are the priority. And so in this division, making sure that the priority of the children, and in order to do that, we're recognizing that there are children who live in non-boundary areas of the new district. So for instance, they might live in what will be the Grangeville district, but go to school in Clearwater Valley. Or they live in Clearwater Valley and are currently going to school in Grangeville. And so this plan includes that those children can continue on in that school throughout their school career. So if they're currently a 6th grader, they continue at the school that they're currently enrolled in throughout all the way to graduation. Okay? And it also includes a component for Elk City, that the Elk City children may choose to go to either school from now on, not through their career like the boundary kids would be, but Elk City children could choose to go to either the Clearwater Valley School or the Grangeville School based on their choice. In Idaho, we have open meeting law, and so that protects that already. However, open meeting law sets limits. Open enrollment, excuse me. Too many things in my world. Open enrollment law, which says you can enroll your child in any school district in Idaho, but those schools have a right to set limits, and so, yes, you can, sort of. With this plan, it says that Elk City children can enroll in either school regardless of those limits. They're always going to be
the school will remain open. It's just like when they continue on.
I'm talking about at the high school, those kiddos that go on to high school.
Right.
They can choose either town. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not about closing the school, it's just making sure that children in Elk City, when they move on after the 8th grade, they can choose either school. Thank you. That's a good clarification. Okay, and then all of the Idaho codes there's a ton of rules that guide this, that direct this, and they are listed there. 33305, naming and numbering. I didn't know you had to have a special process for naming and numbering schools, but I know it now. Did you know that all the 440 to 449 are Idaho County schools? 240 to 249 are Idaho County schools, and in alphabetical order as they create new schools. So the proposed Clearwater Valley School District would be School District 245. The proposed Grangeville School District would be 246. Idaho Code 33306 is boundaries of school districts. Idaho Code 3310, consolidation of school districts, which is strangely the part of the law that controls this the most. Because part of deconsolidation, which is in just a minute, says all the rules apply as well as the rules of consolidation. 33311 is plan for consolidation. That's the one that says you have to follow 310. And then 33312 is division of school districts. 33313, trustee zones. You have to have 5 trustee zones in every district. 33402, notice requirements. And then 33505, board of trustees newly created districts.
And you've added these to the back of the plan.
The copy, yes, there's a synopsis of each of them at the beginning, and a copy of the code itself is in the back of the plan. I believe it's Appendix G.
66 to 82, page 66 to 82.
Yeah, so appendix
E. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now the divisions, and there's would be 2. Clearwater Valley School District, which would include the communities of Kuski, Stites, Harpster, Clearwater, and Elk City. And then Grangeville School District, which would include the little communities of Grangeville, Fenn, Mount Idaho, and Whiteburg. And there's information about, just information about those specific communities on pages 13 and 14 of the plan. In that section of section 13 and 14 of the plan, it talks about why the decision was made to divide in that manner. One of them, for instance, was try to avoid keeping buses off of like Mount Idaho or the Harpster grade. Those kinds of things. Also the history of the schools where kids usually went to school. Elk City typically went to Clearwater Valley. So those kinds of things, as well as property lines. That might not have, now, there used to be a bus that ran from Clearwater Valley to Kuski, excuse me,
and to
Elk City and back.
and to Grangeville.
Okay.
So what percentage of the students that have gone on to school beyond the 8th grade have chosen to go to Kuski? And what percentage has chosen to go to Grangeville? Instead of making a number like that, a statement like that, it may be better to give 52% went to, 48% went to.
I don't have access to those numbers. I can try to find them for you. It's not in the plan. I'll go ahead and get through this so that you can ask your questions. Nice.
Sorry,
Oh.
a little bit of technical difficulties.
So then, I'll go ahead and go on because the next part doesn't have a slide for it. Trustee zones, as according to Idaho law, every school district has to have 5 trustee zones. The current plan, those trustee zones are precincts, voting precincts, because the idea was that would cause the least amount of confusion for voters, because you already know where your precinct is, you know where to vote. And so that's why they use precinct zones for those trustees. A question about how trustees works. When the deconsolidation happens, the 5 trustees that are currently seated would no longer be trustees. The State Board of Education would appoint 5 trustees for the Clearwater Valley School District and 5 trustees for the Grangeville School District. We would ask people who were interested to please give us a letter of interest or a resume, whatever they wanted, and the board would use that in selecting those people. And they would do that at the June meeting. Let's see. Proposal for division of finance, taxable market value. You can find that information on page 16 of the document. And I think the chart is probably, there you go. So the chart is there for District 245. Market value would be 700, I can't read from this distance, 706,000, 77,647. 246 would be 919,790, excuse me, let me say that again. It's 919,790,189, and then, or 69, and then the entire district. So you see that, and then it also shows you the percent of the market value. So 43% would be in 245, and 56%, a little over 56% would be in 246. It also shows you the average daily attendance of the district, which is 1,044, and then the division of the 2 districts. It's about 28%, a little over 28% in the Clearwater Valley District, and 71, almost a little over 71% would be in the 246 district. So that's the estimated market values and the daily attendance for that. Those are the two drivers that drive financing from the state. Carly, did I leave anything out there? Okay, and then I did average daily attendance. Estimated enrollments at the Clearwater Valley School would be 170 at the junior senior high, 117 at Clearwater Valley Elementary, and 13 at Elk City. The Grangeville schools would be 253 at the high school, 509 at the elementary school. Unit calculations you'll find on page 19. Unit calculations is how the state also funds the schools, and this is the chart that they use for that funding. It's more complex than this. Is a very simplified chart. And so Mountain View School District currently gets 65 funding units from the state. If there's in the proposed plan, 21.43 would go to Clearwater Valley Elementary, and 43.59 would go to Grangeville. And that's based on those how many kids you have in grades, how many schools you have that are elementary and preschool, secondary schools. So all of that is used in that unit calculation. And again, that's on page 19 of that draft plan. And this is the new draft plan. Page numbers might be off if you printed it before today. So, and then salary apportionment. Salary apportionment is based on how long teachers have been teachers, because the scale is different. And then they also include instructional, meaning teachers, pupil services, those would be like your speech and language pathologist, administrative, and then classified, parapros is sometimes what we call, but that also includes secretaries, bus drivers, maintenance, custodians. And so in 244, we have a total of apportionment calculation of 5,346,811, and dividing into 245 and 246, we have 245 1,833,941, and 246 3,521,671. So that is the salary apportionment. And then division of assets. Division of assets is your real property, your textbooks, those kinds of things. The proposal is anything that stays in the 245 district, in that proposed 245 district stays there. Anything that's in 246 stays there. And then anything that is shared. So shared assets would be maintenance trucks, for instance, desks in the district office. That would be split between the two districts based on ADA. Technology is another big one. Servers, computers. So the computers that are in the buildings would stay there, and then any shared servers and technology would be split based on that ADA. And consumable supplies, the same thing. Consumable supplies are like workbooks, paper that's for copy machines, those kinds of things. And then division of liabilities. In a school district, your biggest liability is your payroll, because you're an employer that employs, it's a service organization, so your payroll is your liability. And again, that liability, your certified staff would stay in their buildings. There are a few certified staff that are shared by the district: the superintendent, the nurse, speech and language pathologist, federal programs coordinator, assessment director, special education coordinator, special education preschool. So those are all shared positions. And after the deconsolidation, if that were to happen, and there's a new board of trustees, the board of trustees would determine what that looks like for their school. So there would be 5 people who would make the decisions, like what it looks like for Clearwater Valley School District, and there'd be 5 people who would make the decision what it looks like for Grangeville School District. So it doesn't have to be the same. Maybe Clearwater has a full-time superintendent and full-time principals. Maybe they have a half-time superintendent, half-time principal somewhere. That's when those 5 trustees think about their district and make decisions for their district based on the need there. So the question we had last week was, well, how much is it going to cost to run these schools? It's going to be different based on what the trustees choose for that district. How big of class sizes you want, how long your bus routes are, how many, all of those things based on what those trustees decide, and that decision is what drives that factor. And then we don't have bonds, and the levy would run out next year. I think I skipped over the timeline. Nope, timeline's at the end, we'll get to that. So levy runs out this next year. And then the last thing there is the timeline. So right now are the public hearings. We had a hearing last week in Grangeville, tonight in Elk City, another one in Clearwater Valley tomorrow, and then another one in Grangeville on the 6th of November. On the 6th of November, the Board of Trustees will make a decision about whether they want to forward this plan or a draft of this plan or change of this plan to the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education will rule in December or January. They approve it. They don't make it go through. They're not the deciders. They're just saying, okay, you can take it to an election. And then the vote would be in May. The election is two-pronged. It has, in order for the deconsolidation to move forward, it would have to pass in the district as a whole, all of 244, and then it would also have to pass in the smaller of the two proposed districts, which would be the Clearwater Valley District. And then if it passes, if it goes to election, and if it passes in the election in May of 2025, then the deconsolidation would happen on July 1st, 2026. That's an entire year away, but there are decisions like RFPs for contracts. You have to have time to write an RFP, put it out for bid to get your best price. If they tried to do it between May and July 1st, you wouldn't be getting the best prices and the best fiscal decisions. So that gives the district an entire year to separate. How does that work? Well, you have 10 trustees, 5 who make all of the decisions about the proposed Clearwater district, 5 who make all the decisions about the proposed Grangeville district, and if it's something that still has to do with 244 for that last year, then the 10 trustees make those decisions. Also, in additions to in this plan, there is the maps of the proposed districts are on page 63, and then the motions, resolutions, notice, and the ballot itself. These are all draft again, are on page 83. Based on the public meeting the other day in Grangeville, we had a request for some additional data and kind of actually what it is, the data, most of it was in the plan already, but it's on 100 different pages. And so we took that data and condensed it to one spreadsheet one chart that is on page 83. Excuse me.
89?
89, thank you. And then there's a question and answer section after that is really helpful too. Oh, and I also included, because this was another question that I had, that we had up there, one of the questions was, what's the poverty rate for the 2 different school districts, or what is the median house, or what's the household income? Those numbers aren't divided by those proposed districts because those proposed districts don't exist right now. They're all part of a big district. And so I do have the free and reduced rate for the different schools involved included there, and then I did find the poverty rate, the national household income average. It's not in that draft yet. I'm hoping to put it in tomorrow. But again, it's important to understand that's not the district. That data doesn't exist for the proposed Clearwater district or the proposed Grangeville district because no one consolidated that information because that district doesn't exist yet. So that's the plan, and then we can move on to the public's comments.
Yeah, if you've signed up, you have 3 minutes. We would request that you just tell us where you're a registered voter, even throw in things like, do you have children in the district or something like that. Who's first?
Sue Phillips.
Sue Phillips.
And your timing.
I'll do it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Put it where I can see it. I get carried away, you know.
Oh, no, it's good.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sue Phillips. I've lived in Elk City over 50 years. I have 2 children that went K through 8th and K through 9th here at the school. I have touched this school in one capacity or another for all of the 51 years I've lived here. Volunteer, worked. I'm currently the librarian and I read to kids and I'm real involved in REACH. My main concern is I think that this decision should be a decision that is an official vote by the people in Elk City. I think that they should come up with a way where they canvass the people. I know that this is a draft, but listening, it sounds like a lot of it has been pretty much proposed or decided. We were never asked officially. There was an unofficial thing that a lot of people didn't see. I honestly, if the majority want to go with CV, I'm fine with that. But I think the people need to be the people that decide. Um, I was very disappointed when I went to the August school board meeting here in Elk City, and people were talking about there's a levy now, and in 2 years the money will be gone, and then we won't be able to pass a levy and we'll close the Elk City school. I know that's just people talking, but that is an option that has been on the table before. Um, we're 52 miles and an hour and 15 minutes from Grangeville. You can't bus kids. COVID showed us that distant learning does not work. We have parents here who have young children in school and they're saying, I don't want to homeschool my kids. We have a wonderful teacher who wants to be here for a few years. I worry about the long term and if the school will stay. We need a school. If this school would happen to close down, I think it would just be a real blow to the community. I just am pleading, please have some kind of a vote where the people that live Elk City, Red River, Oro Grande, Dixie, down the Clearwater, those people can vote which way they want it to go. And again, I'll close with whatever the people decide is fine with me, and I'll support this school till the day I die.
Thank you. All right, next is Lori Beauchamp. Beauchamp?
You want us up there?
Anywhere is fine.
Wherever you want.
I'll go. You were good.
Oh, well, thanks.
So my name's Lori Beauchamp. I'm a grandparent of students that go to Elk City. And so am I really vested in a parents' process of trying to get kids to and from school and what's best for them? No, but I do hear communication from many of the parents that that have children in the school. And so it's important for us to put the kids first. I don't really understand the concept of where the decision was made that someone started a conversation about deconsolidation and how it's got to where it's at today and the cost associated with it. It would be interesting to me to find out what has the district spent in funds to discuss deconsolidation. How many people have been put salaries toward deconsolidation? And what is that cost and where is it coming from? And what is it taking from our children? So those are a couple of things that I find to be disconcerting about this process, in that we have passed a levy and we feel that it's important to support the school district 244 with that levy, but how much of that money is going to this deconsolidation process? The other thing is I keep hearing conversations about bullying, that children that go to Grangeville get bullied. Well, I have a niece who went to Grangeville, and I have some friends' children that have gone to Grangeville. And as far as I know, there is bullying in every school. It's an epidemic proportion today in our school system. And so making a decision or making a public announcement that one school has more bullying than another school, that to me is not appropriate. That should be handled at the school level and not be part of a discussion about deconsolidation. I don't have any family that I can speak to that went to Clearwater Valley. I graduated from Riggins, and so Riggins was one of our partners that we played sports against. And it was kind of cool to go to Clearwater Valley. Clearwater Valley, I used to think in my age group that it was a big school. And I would prefer to go to a big school for Elk City
Because then maybe we could be, the funds could be better supported to support Elk City being joined with Grangeville. Thank you for giving me a couple more seconds.
Okay, next is Cheryl Norland.
Okay, I've been here for 17 years, and I am the mother of a child that went from 3rd grade through 6th grade here, and then I chose to put her in Grangeville School at 7th grade through high school, simply because of a lot of different reasons, but I was wanting my daughter to have the advantage of making a transition at junior high level instead of waiting until high school level, so that there could be opportunities, more opportunity for sports and more opportunity for extracurricular activities. My concern you addressed already, and I'm comfortable with that the kids from Elk City would have that choice at this point. I'm feeling that I was subsidized, I don't know if the district still subsidized, the cost of her living from 9th grade through 12th grade. There was $100 or so that they paid us to go to school out there. You might be able to answer that question, but I have a feeling that will become a burden if we belong to Clearwater Valley and our children want to go to Grangeville. Grangeville is probably not going to offer that $100 subsidy. That probably would not change anyone's mind, but it is there. My concern is, to back up with what Sue says, I think it's our community that should have the right to decide which district, if the deconsolidation goes through. That it should not be, this is what you get. It's what we as a joint in our community should have the right to have that vote. It should not be left to just, this is what you get.
Thank you. Okay, Caitlin Toe. Am I saying Tao? Okay, I knew it. I just do it. Sorry.
My name is Caitlin Tao, and I have 2 children in school here, and a third one eventually. My concern is that I want our school to have the best chance to stay alive. And that means going with Grangeville by any means. I mean, I went to Kuski School and I went to Grangeville School, and yes, Grangeville has more advantages and abilities, sports and that kind of stuff, but I think that our kids would have a better chance of excelling in Grangeville, staying with Grangeville. Thank you.
Okay, Terry Beeler.
I thought I was just signing that I was.
Oh. Well, we knew you had something to say.
I have I'll make some statements in the question. Yes, we've been here about 50 years or better. My 2 boys went to grade school here. One went to Grangeville, one went to CV. There was no difference. And the people here need to have a choice. I will say, we fought really hard to get the grade school here to go through the 10th grade. When I came on as deputy up here, the hack rate for the school up here was real heavy. The children that left in the 8th grade went downriver, we lost them. They didn't finish. Once they finished the 10th grade and went downriver, we lost hardly any. But things have changed. There was what, Debbie, 120, 130 kids in school now? So we needed the 10th grade because of the numbers. But as far as what's the driving force moving the deconsolidation? What's the purpose? There has to be a purpose. What is it?
Well, there's been tension in the community. We're not really supposed to answer,
Yeah, we'll totally answer that afterwards.
Huh?
We'll answer that afterwards for sure. We
Okay.
just
This
can't
is your
answer when you're
3 minutes.
But
talking.
anyway, no, the school has done well. The children have done well. There is no difference between Grangeville and CD. Or wasn't. Now, today, I can't speak for that.
Thank you. Mhm. Okay. Rice? Tammy?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't read it, so
And
sorry.
My husband and I have a granddaughter here in Elk City School. She is thriving here. We have been here 20 years. What I do know is the town needs a school. A town without a school will not survive. We will lose young families, we will lose income here, and we need a school here. I have not had a child in either Grangeville or CD, so I can't speak to either side. But we need to keep our school alive here, and we need the same resources for these children as Grangeville, Clearwater accept. Every child deserves the same education, the same teaching, the same opportunities. So this school definitely needs to stay alive, and I do know there's a lot of community support for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, Susie Barwitz.
First of all, I'd like to thank those of you that drove all the way up here tonight to be with us and to listen to us and take time. And that means a lot to us because we know it's a long drive up here and we appreciate it. Next thing I'd like to say, well, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Susie Borowitz, my husband Jim, and I'm speaking for both of us. We're both retired, and he was the forester at the mill, and I was here at school as a principal for 12 years and teacher, and I loved it. It's a great school. So I'm behind it 110%, whatever, keeping this school here. But one thing I want to address right off the bat that broke my heart was when I read in the paper that our trustee stated that he made his decision on where to send our children because he understands that our children were bullied in Grange. That's a bunch of hogwash. That for 12 years, that didn't go on. That was not part of their education. That was not why, that should not be a determining factor in where our kids go to school. I mean, it should be based on the education of those students and those children. And the people that know their kids the best are the parents. And so I was really happy when Alicia said that they're going to get a choice of where to go. And I think that needs to be written in black and white so that doesn't change in the future if that's what it comes to. That we need to have that guaranteed to our students, that they have that opportunity to go either to Grangeville or to, down to CV. Our youngest daughter went to Grangeville for 4 years. She had an excellent education, totally excellent. The teachers that she had there are still her mentors, and she's 40, almost 50 years old, and she still communicates with those teachers. They had such an impact on her and her life. She went on to graduate at the University of Idaho, and then she got her master's at the University of Portland. She attended the University of St. Andrews in Scotland and became a very successful teacher, and we're so proud of her. But it was this school that gave her that foundation, and this school gave other students that foundation as well, and kids have gone out to become doctors, to become store owners, to become military, active in the military. You'd be very surprised at the potential and what our kids are doing that came from this school. I think if you ask any student that attended Elk City School about their time here, they'll glow because it was a very special time in their lives. And for us as their staff, It was for us too. We had an excellent staff. I had 9.5 teachers, and we had 139 students. Every single locker out there was full of either 1 or 2 kids. It was just amazing what this school did. So we want to keep that up, that tradition. And the one thing I want to end in, I was co-chairman with Marilyn Woods of Save Elk City, and we made little buttons that said Save Elk City, and everybody wore those buttons. Well, now we need to make buttons that say Save Elk City School and wear those buttons. So that's my hope and my dream, and I want to keep working hard to keep this school alive and to have us have the choice of what happens to our kids in this community. Thanks.
Thank you. Sanford Stubb.
Is this the portion that's recorded for the state, or not?
These meetings are recorded, yes, and there will be a link in the plan submitted to the state.
So this is being recorded?
Yeah.
Okay. I am known as Sandy the chess guy. I gotta get my phone here because my brain is here. And I've been very active in schools all around, except I haven't been coming to Elk City. It's a little too far. I'm from Kuski. And so first thing, the question of why are we having this deconsolidation? I'm hearing from people, it's just so Grangeville can pass the levy easier. And that may be true, it may not. I'd like in that final table to add the votes for or against the levy from each of the proposed school districts to see how that would be a factor in deciding to split. I also would suggest, this is general for the meetings, that we not only have comments at the beginning, but a feedback time at the end, restricted to what was discussed at the meeting, because then we have it fresh in our mind to be able to give you feedback and not be, we don't know what's going to happen in the meeting until later. So I found the last meeting that would be pretty helpful. And then I'm wondering when the trustee maps will get out, because I'd be curious about that, the trustee districts that are going to be proposed. That's all I have.
All right, Joyce Deerstein.
Hi, everybody. Most of you know me, so I won't do introductions. I am very concerned. A community without a school is a dying community. So we absolutely need to have at the very least an elementary school here. And I'm glad to hear that our students will have the option to go either to Grangeville or CB. But that still leaves the question of, will the school remain open? Who has the right to make that decision on closure or keeping it open? And that hasn't been stated here tonight. And we as a community have not had a voice in this. Our representative chose to make his own decision and not ask any of the community. And it took a county commissioner to put out a petition that had 100 names on it to keep the school viable. So I think we who voted for the levy and helped you pass it, and we who pay taxes have a right to have a say in this, and we would certainly like to be included. And the other question is, after who gets to decide our future on the CB and Grangeville choice, is that in perpetuity? Or is there a 10-year limit, 15-year limit, so that we know in the future what our children's choices are? Thank you.
Robin Smith.
Hi everyone, I'm Robin Smith. I guess I should have read what the sign-in was for. I thought I was just signing in. Along with Terry. Yeah. And I just wanted to say that I do think that it's extremely important that the people here in the community have their voice heard and that they have the opportunity to vote, and that people consider very strongly what their vote means and whether the school will eventually end up closing here or staying open. And I'm just going to say, as a major employer here, not the only employer here, not by far, But as a major employer here, I will have a very, very difficult time getting employees to come to Elk City if education isn't an opportunity for their children here. Thank you.
What was the last one?
Am I able to sign up real quick for the?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Will you tell me your name?
Paul Brower.
Paul Brower.
I look around this room and I think we're all kind of close to a family. You were one of my teachers. I go to church with you. You fix my teeth. And my sons work here. I grew up with your children and I jumped with your husband. And so a very strong sense to this community that I have a child here, hopefully some more on the way, but where I'm trying to go with that is like we're trying to desperately eke out a living here, and we really don't want to possibly be losing everything we put our effort into and have to sell out and move because we're not going to separate ourselves from our children and have to bus them out to CV or Grangeville. So it's simply just a plea for we're all in this together. You vote however you want, but trying to give us the best opportunity for the small families here to have a choice when the levies come up again, whether it's Grangeville or CV, and be able to try to give us a fighting chance to keep this community and this school here. So, thank you.
Thank you. I feel so bad because you look so different now. I'm so sorry.
You
I'm so
feel
sorry.
legit?
We're always.
You were his teacher?
Yeah,
Yeah,
always
I'm in church
old.
with you.
Yeah.
I have one question, if that's okay. So I have a child in Grangeville. My name is Heather Kessner. I have a child in Grangeville. I also have a child here. If you guys decided to split this up and we went to CV, does that mean as a parent, I have to deal with 2 different school districts? How is that fair? And how is, because then I have to figure, then I have to deal with 2 different school districts because I'm in CV here because of my son, and then Grangeville because my daughter is going to school there. That's not fair to us that I'm trying to coordinate 2 different school districts, right? The other thing, when was the last time you guys heard that there were kids that went to CV? I mean, I've only lived here 6 years, but I haven't heard of a kid in 10 years going to CV. The 2 kids that just left here, well, my daughter, she's an 8th grader, and then another girl who's a 9th grader went to Grangeville. And then prior to that, the Lebowskis went to Grangeville, and then Cheryl, and the other kids stayed or whatever, but my daughter wanted to go to Grangeville. I've never even heard of bullying. Some of the stuff that you guys are talking about is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Who got our input? I didn't even question my daughter when she wanted to go to Grangeville so she could play sports. At all. I said, okay, we will figure it out. So I realize I am one person out of a school of only 13 or whatever, but that would be a burden to deal with 2 different school districts. I mean, it truly would. I would have to have 2 different things. I can hardly keep track of my 2 kids in 2 different schools in 2 different towns. So I'm just throwing that out there.
We good?
Yeah.
Debbie Rayner.
I don't know why I asked you your name.
Old history here. I started teaching here in 1975. I retired in 2015. So I've saw the ebb and the flow of 60 students to 120 students, all the way down to my last year. I was in a single classroom with everybody K through 8. The plea, I think the parents feel, most kids went on to Grangeville. I'll be honest, if you want to break that down and look, there are kids that went to CV too. And I want to herald both both schools. The CV teachers are phenomenal, just like the Grangeville are. Our kids, when they ended up, had the greatest education from the staff. As for the community makeup, people have kind of a stereotype of Elk City, but Elk City has done some really powerful different things with grants, with bringing really different types of things into the small community. And I don't think the school districts really appreciated all the things that we did create. The board at that time gave us a lot of leeway to do some experimental things because we were so small and we didn't have sports and things. So we went ahead and got a natural resource grant. Melanie can attest to that because she was on it. And what we did is we started an outdoor science school, came out of this school and that grant. And the outdoor science school today is now McCall Outdoor Moss Camp. Outdoor is up in it's up in McCall, and 2,500 fifth graders go to it now. The first group that went was our school with 1 week, and then we built it up. Many other things. I know I don't have much time. I just want to say the Grangeville district has always been closer. It's welcoming. The Kuski, I had one son went to Kuski for 3 years, came to Grangeville. My daughters went to Grangeville. And I feel that the mix of our interesting small little group here blends very well. And I would like this small group of Elk City people to make the decision. And I'm like with Sue, if they decided to be in the Kuski district, fine. But let our parents say, they're the ones, it's for the kids. Let the parents make the decision. That's it.
Do you want to try? I tried to catch the questions. Do you want me to
Sure,
read
go
them
ahead.
to you and you guys can answer?
Yeah, that would be fine. And we're gonna have time with.
We'll have kind of a discussion here. We're not supposed to really converse too much, but we'll try to keep it orderly. So if you have a comment or another additional question, could you just raise your hand and then call on you and keep it as orderly as possible.
Do any of you want to address the intention of closing, the idea that the school?
Yeah, there's been so much that's, well, if we go with Kuski, we're going to close, and doom and gloom. And if anybody has a crystal ball, please let me know, because I'm in real estate. And I'd love to know what the future is, because we don't know. And people are assuming that Grangeville has this, like, stellar voting record, but nobody realizes that a lot of our precincts failed as well. And, oh, time's up. Can't talk anymore. There's no guarantee that whatever district you guys go with, that either are going to succeed. We don't know that. We have Whitebird, who is adamant against public education. It's mostly, I mean, I'm not going to make any stereotypes, but it's not a lot of students down there. And so we have that we're contending with as well. So saying, honestly, going with Grangeville or going with Kuski, right now in the climate that our district's been in for the last 7 years, there's not a lot of trust. So we're trying to build that trust back. And in that, we looked at both plans. We looked at you guys joining Grangeville. We looked at you guys joining CV. We looked at the academics. And bottom line, academics are driven partially by funding. So we took everything into consideration and then figured, well, funding comes, a quarter of it comes from the levy. So we're listening to the communities. I've been on the board, I think, I don't know, a little while, 3 years, 2.5 years. And everybody's talking about the community and eking out their money. Nobody has money. I get it. Communities are struggling. People are struggling. Taxpayers are struggling. So with us making the decision for Elk City to currently be with CV, it was partially because your per $100,000 tax rate would go, if we ran all the numbers, it would go from $185 per 100,000 to $115 per 100,000, maintaining the academics as they are. So that's a pretty big insurance, more so than Grangeville's will go to 230, something like that, per 100,000. So if you look at the economics of these two, of Elk City, Kuski, and Grangeville, and you look at the incomes and the potential for businesses, you need to look at what those taxpayers are going to be looking at when they're voting for the levy. And keeping the expense down per 100,000 is really what you guys, a lot of the taxpayers have asked for, without expending it, without ruining the academics in these schools. And one more thing I just wanted to say. I used to live at Powell Ranger District. It's Powell, it's kind of a little city. It used to have a school. And I got my teaching cert while I was working there so I could open that school, and we had enough kids. So Wayne Davis came and visited us, and he said, oh, no, we're not opening it. He was the superintendent at the time. And so those parents had to drive their kids 50 minutes down Highway 12 every day. And that's when I moved to Grangeville, because we had 2 kids and my husband was like, we can't do this. So I know the value of a school in a community. I've seen it. The district just sold off the building last year to the Forest Service at Powell. So I understand how important it is. And we're not trying to close you guys in any way. We're trying to sustain you guys. And Tyler has done so much work on this, and Alyssa and Carly, and this isn't something they took lightly. There was also a survey done in the month of May 2023. We had heard you guys when we were looking at possibly deconsolidating, and we sent out a survey. Now, granted, it was internet, but it was in the newspaper, and we thought we had done everything to get the survey out. So,
How many people took that survey?
let me find out.
It's not very scientific.
120?
I don't put much merit in it. It said that most people wanted to go to CV, but I would not put much merit in
The
it.
percentages were like 46 to 38. I actually saw the survey
Yeah.
and voted, and I just want to say, I also, when I spoke, I should have thanked you, because I know there's been a ton of work and consideration and coming up here, but the hook was set on the last levy, that they were going to close this school. And there's just too much. I mean, you're talking about trust. We've talked about trust in this room. I'm sorry, but I don't have trust when I go to a school board meeting and I hear 3 different people from 3 different areas say, we got money now, but in 2 years we won't pass a levy, and then we'll close the Elk City School. They said that at that school board meeting.
You're right.
And if things like that catch fire, people hear that. I heard it and it brought my dander up, but other people are going to hear it and say, oh yeah, well, CV's having a heartburn because if they deconsolidate, they're going to have to run a levy, and it's going to be hard to balance. And well, one of the ways we can balance is we'll have Oak City School, and that's X amount of dollars, and boom, we'll close it. And I went to Alyssa's welcome meet and greet, and I loved her analogy she put up on screen, and it was, she wanted to see things the glass half full. And I think that we need to think of things as glass half full, not half empty. We'll close the Oak City School and save some money. It just kills me, just tears at my heart.
It was in survival mode because we didn't have any
no,
money.
No, I'm not talking about
like
we
that's
passed the levy.
Right.
Well, I'm
second time.
I'm going to let John speak first, and then we need to pump the brakes a little bit, but I'll let you make your comment.
Okay, just a quick comment. Yeah, I'm the bad guy here from this district. It's my impression we've got to keep this school open here somehow, some way. It is critical, it's important, and how are we going to do that? I was really worried about that this last spring. Again, why did I support the levy? Because we had to do something. And now, is it better to be with Grangeville or down with Clearwater? I don't know really. Quite frankly, I don't know. And I think there's arguments to be made, and I don't know enough about the two different schools at this point. But we've got to have a school out here. We've got to have something here where the kids can be in school here. Now, with that as a given, we've got to figure out how to do it when these questions come up again.
So we're here to just facilitate this process. So this is not a foregone conclusion. It has to pass the muster here. It has to pass the muster at the state. They have to say it's a good idea, and then the community has to say it's a good idea. So it's not a foregone conclusion. If you decide to vote to stay together, great. We're all in this together. If you decide to separate so we can focus on our own communities, more local communities, great. It's what you want. It's not a foregone conclusion. If we are to separate, Grangeville the Grangeville district will have the advantage of numbers, right? there's an advantage in that, the economy of numbers. So we wanted to give the smaller schools as much advantage as possible. And in combining Elk City and CV, we do that. Carly, will you put that chart again with the money per ADA?
While she's scrolling, you just saw
Do
her
you-
go past some yellow pages, some yellow lines, and that's where it is in writing about the students of Elk City having a choice, so it is in writing, and I'll add the word in perpetuity to it.
In perpetuity.
I almost said it earlier, but I was afraid I would stumble over it, so I left it out of my vocabulary, but I'll add that into the words. And then Carly, sorry to interrupt you, I just saw that fly by.
So that's the deal. If the district splits, look at the one market value per ADA, which is like market value per student. You can see in the CV it's 2,300 or whatever versus 1,230, whatever there. It's about a 2-to-1 advantage if Elk City and CV stay together. So, like in taxes, if you have to pass a levy.
Not in taxes. That's in
No.
that's the market value of that's the assessed total value
Yes,
of the
but
properties.
say you
in your
pass $1
district.
million levy or whatever, instead of being, I'm making up numbers, $100 per 100,000, it may be $50 per 100,000 because you have a 2-to-1 advantage in property values. Does that make sense?
It does, I mean, and this, I'm Lori again. It makes sense, but the opportunity of choice is what's important. And the opportunity of longevity is what's important.
So this sounds like this is kind of a, nobody wants to be associated with Kuski. That's what the sentiment is what I'm feeling, that if you're associated with Kuski, you feel like you're going to be shut down. But if you're associated with Grangeville, they're going to force you to stay open?
No.
Or force you to pass levies?
No.
So what's the concern with going with Kuski?
I guess my concern is, do we here in Elk City get a choice? Or is our yes or no vote lumped together with everybody else in the district? And I guess I'm asking you to help me understand what the ballot would look like and how it would be worded. Would it say, would it give us a choice on Elk City or Grangeville or Kuski?
It would
No.
not.
Would it be
No. It's do you
consolidation
want
or
to
no
split?
consolidation?
Yeah. Do you want to split and go with CV, or do you want to stay together as an entire district?
So
That's
you
what it would
can't
look like.
And that's for
divide, you can't
everybody.
divide in more than 2. According to Idaho code, when you deconsolidate, it can only be 2 pieces.
Understand that.
Okay,
yeah.
and so the ballot, she's gonna scroll up to it in just a minute here, is right there the question. At about halfway down the page there. Oops.
Yeah, well, you kind of, at one point, you kind of made it sound like we, the people of Elk City, would have a vote on who we go with, Grangeville
Oh.
and Kuski.
Well-
But in reality, we're gonna be lumped together with everyone else, is that right?
I guess the question might be, do you want to go with Grangeville and pay $230 per 100,000 for taxes, or do you want to go with CV and pay $115 per 100,000
I really
for taxes?
would like a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like a choice.
Joyce.
just a review about the ballot, just so that you know, it's a true 2-prong vote. The entire district has to vote for it to move forward, and then the smaller of the 2 districts, just the votes in the smaller of the 2 districts. If that includes Elk City or not, I'm just saying. So the rule is 2 parts. It has to pass in the entire district. It has to pass in the smallest of the 2 new districts.
By
That's the
majority.
2 by a simple majority. Yes.
Simple majority.
Simple majority.
Yeah. You can't be forced on either.
Yeah, in your figures and in your presentation, you showed us income levels and poverty levels. So if you could pull that.
Okay, income levels are not there. This is based
Low
on.
income, this will do just
Okay.
fine. So if you lump us with Kuski, and they have such a high rate of low income, what are the odds that they're going to pass a levy if we need one? Versus if we're with Grangeville and the economic level is higher and we're willing to sign on to a levy.
But their
What are
levy
our odds?
is more expensive.
I'd
The
like-
Grangeville levy's
You
double.
know what? I don't care.
But there's people that are struggling that do care.
Well, the point is
They live here.
that if you
Yeah.
have people that will not or do not wish to pass a levy, that's going to directly affect our schools.
Yes, it will.
And
Correct.
we should have at least a say in that.
So I'd like to, so the only hard data that we had, with the exception of last year, is the voting records for the last 10 years. And Elk City and Clearwater Valley have voted pretty much the same for 10 years plus. If you go back, I can read them off to you. May of 14, Elk City was 22 for the levy, 41 against. Elk Kuski was 166 for, 232 against. May of 2018, Elk City was 13 for, 31 against. Kuski was 164, 175 against. It shows commonality and solidarity there. This is, I mean, like I said, when you mentioned that the online one, well, that wasn't scientific or anything like this. This is the only data that we've had, and it shows solidarity. I'm gonna go back here first, but so the like, no matter what decision we make, people are gonna be mad. They're gonna be mad. If Elk City went with Grangeville, people are gonna be mad. If Elk City goes with Kuski, people are going to be mad. We're trying to make what is the most logical sense to help the smallest communities possible. And in putting them together, you get tax advantages. It shows commonality, like we've seen commonality there. It makes the most sense. The one thing is, as a school, it sounds like you want to be associated with Grangeville because Grangeville will force you to pass levies and keep you open.
But that
Is that right?
Can you read the last election?
60, so with the exception, right? The exception is this last year, with the threat of closing Elk City down, it was 62 against and 63 for. So by one vote, Elk City did vote to stay open. You guys put a lot of effort into making that happen. That was great.
Caitlin's arm's gonna fall off.
Okay, so
Yes, back here.
I have 2 questions. So what were the numbers for and against for Grangeville for the levy last year?
Oh, for the levy last, oh gosh.
For this current levy?
It was
Voted for.
full, it was, you can look it up. I don't have Grangeville's numbers.
So
You know
my-
it?
But it's 4, it was 4.
Yes.
Yes.
So my thought is that if we stayed with Grangeville, then they're gonna pass a levy.
Yes,
So that
it's
way our
exactly.
heads aren't on the chopping block.
Exactly.
That's
And then
That's what you want.
my other
not a good
I
question-
think
assumption.
that's what that's the worry in the room. Even though you get more tax advantages,
Yes.
even though the Kuski principal or the CV principal comes up here and has more connection with you, and
But
it makes
she
more
is
tax
our
sense, and the economies are similar and everything like that. You want Grangeville to force
Yes.
Elk City to pass
So
it.
that way our heads are not on the chopping block.
Okay.
And then my other question is that so has the decision already been made that we have to go with Kuski? So when we vote on that ballot, there's only, yes, we want the deconsolidation?
That-
Deconsolidation.
That's it.
If so, then we have to go with Kuski?
Yes.
So
If
then-
you, so you can vote no. Just vote no. That would.
So then they stay together. And
So
then
they
our
stay
heads are
together.
still on the-
Or what could also happen is later on you could deconsolidate from Elk City, from Kuski, and join Grangeville. So you would go through this same process
You would have to go. through
because
the
you can only deconsolidate one at a time.
One split.
Right. But I mean, you could go with Grangeville now.
We're in jeopardy.
That's either way you're in jeopardy anyway because Grangeville levies and Kuski levies are not a given.
Yes, but normally Grangeville passes their levies.
No.
Like the people in Grangeville.
No, the last 10 years, Mary, do you have that data?
I do have all the data, but Grangeville has 5 years.
I mean, there's 5 districts, so it's not like I can just.
Okay.
I'm not that good at that.
But you know the history of Grangeville levies, that it wasn't a solid for 8 years,
For
10
4 years,
years.
we didn't pass a levy. The district.
Yeah,
But that wasn't-
COVID was going on during that time frame, and I don't think we can
That's
justify.
true. What in the back here first?
I think, I taught here for a lot of years, loved my time here, loved living in this community. And I think it goes back to what I hear in this room is not we're pro going with Grangeville or we're pro going with Clearwater. They wanted a choice. That you never even gave them a choice. Our representative never asked us our opinions. You did an inconsequential survey, but no one ever asked us.
So what would you recommend? What would satisfy you? We have our last meeting November
More than
6th.
just me, I think the community is really saying very loudly tonight, give us a choice.
So
we'll live with the choice.
How? Because what I've
Ask
heard
for a
is
vote. Well,
But that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
we put out a survey and that wasn't good. We put it in the newspaper, that wasn't enough. Like, do we send out mailers? Like, how do we ever?
Take a vote. How?
How?
You set up a voting poll in the cafeteria like we have for years, and you have people come in and vote.
What about a bunch of people that can't make it? Like, what day? What do you do? Like,
Just like any other voting time. If you really, really want your opinion heard, you'll make it to the voting poll. If you don't care, you're not gonna make it. Snow, rain, sunshine, beautiful day, crappy day. But I feel like what I am really loudly hearing in this community is I was here early when the conversation started, and at that point it was pretty much said, not right directly like I could quote it, but that we would be given a choice. And you're right, there's not a lot of trust between Grangeville and Elk City, Grangeville board and the community. I mean, I know the politics and I know the communication error, but part of it is you guys don't communicate with us. You want to pass a ballot up here, a levy up here? Come up and tell them all the things that you have done in this school that no one ever sees. If you sat in front of the grocery store with a pot of coffee and some cupcakes, you would be able to impact a lot of people and help them understand why passing the levy is so important and how much money you have spent on this school. You spent a lot on the inside, no one sees that. So they just go with the assumption that Grangeville never supports Elk City School. We've had the best support in the last 5 years than we had in the 4 before that. But it doesn't really, all of that part doesn't really matter. I think it goes back to, you want to hear our voice? Let us vote.
I just have 2 things. We tried to put out a petition and no, we didn't do the criteria correctly. I heard feedback from something that was said, I don't know where, that I took that petition around and got people to sign it, which is not true. It was at the store. I heard that the people that were on that petition don't live here. I didn't look at all the signatures, but I looked at a lot of them and they were local people, and there were about 100 signatures on that petition that said we wanted to go with Grangeville. I've talked with Janice Ingram. She's given me the voter rolls. I think they merged taxpayers and property owners in Elk City. There's a huge number of people in Elk City who have summer homes here and don't live here, and they showed up on that list. I think there's about 200, or roughly around 200 or a little bit more, that actually live in this whole area. So there was about half of the people that signed that petition. I don't know how we can say it anymore. Well, the other point I wanted to say, Tyler, is I busted my buns. Unfortunately, they're not a lot smaller, but I busted my buns to get that levy passed. I got 8 people that I can tell you their names that I got to vote yes. About half of them had never voted before. I put up signs, I campaigned, I talked. You know, I have a big mouth and a lot of passion. And I tried really hard. But I think, I love what Kathy said. I love what the people here, Jim said. This is the reason I've been so passionate about it is we just need a choice. We need a choice. And this, I know why you've done this. I know the numbers look great. The split, the financial split, I've gone to 2 or 3 meetings. I've heard there's a lot of facets and parts to this deconsolidation plan and stuff, and the finances is one of them. But I don't think we should, if we want to go with Grangeville, I don't think that we should be punished and told, no, you know, property value wise, you got to go with these guys or whatever. We're just asking for some kind of a vote where we say, we get to tell you what we want. And I think a lot of people want to stay with Grangeville.
And they want to, I mean, I've just been at a lot of board meetings over the last 5 years where everybody was like, we can't pay these taxes. That's where, we've been listening to you. We've heard it over and over again. Why do we have to have a levy? We're trying to make it as affordable as possible because of
the levy?
Because of this.
Did Elm
Yes,
City pass the levy?
at $1.85 per 100,000.
Right, I know what you're saying.
So now you're going to ask people to spend $50 more per 100,000, so you can be with a potentially not beneficial district.
I guess my answer to that is
It's
let's
a gamble.
cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we don't want to be told where we're going to go if it's not where the majority wants to go. We have funding this year, we have funding next year. Beyond that, who knows what we'll be doing. Maybe we'll have to pass a levy. Maybe the Idaho legislature will pass a proposition that does away with levies.
That's my fingers crossed.
My fingers crossed too. There's things that can happen.
Okay,
I'll be quiet.
We have two more.
Okay, I want to take a little heat off of this board. Because
We're already
our problem-
past, but you're
Our
here.
problem stems from what percentage of this county is owned by the federal government and the state government?
Mm-hmm.
How much land do we have? How much trees do we have? How much gold do we have? How much silver do we have? How much rare earths do we have? This county should be the richest county in the nation.
We
by
used to
far.
be.
But the logging roads are getting closed, the mills are getting shut down, and it's been from the top down. And we need to focus more on the state and more on the federal government and say, look, we want our land back. You took it for our benefit and we're not getting it. And they're putting these guys into hell because we can't solve that because, oh, the state says, you know, Elk City's too small a district to allow to function.
Here, here.
Hey, it's our district. Take a hike.
I want to register the trees as
I'm
Republican.
really livid about this because we're having to struggle and tear our own communities apart because these people at the top are not doing their job. And they're using our resources to just siphon off all our wealth and destroy us. So just want to make that point.
Sorry,
Thank you.
we're just going with Janice here and then.
Janice,
Yep.
just a point of clarification. There are 316 registered votes in this Elk City precinct. The best vote in the last few years was the last for the levy, and that was only 125. So there are a lot of people out there that are not participating.
Okay.
Give me some time. Give me some time.
We're 15 minutes over already.
Is it okay
Tried
if
to
we
give
keep
us-
going though? Or no? This is our only opportunity to really talk to these guys.
We're gonna put
I
a
don't-
time limit on it?
No. Sorry, but
All right,
Yeah, we
John,
already-
you first.
Okay, I just have one comment. A lot of you know I worked all over Alaska long years ago. One of the communities I worked at was a little community of Port Alexander down at the south end of Baranof Island, tiny little town. One of the best schools I ever saw was down there in that little bitty community. One teacher, 12 students, and they ranged from kindergarten through high school. And that worked really great. And if we had to out here in Elk City, I think we could do that here. Anyhow, but we gotta keep a school here one way or another. That's critical. How we do right now and what happens right now, I don't know, but we gotta keep a school out here. So, with that in mind, I think we can go forward.
Keep it short, but
It's very
let's
short.
try to get through everybody. Here we go.
You're wonderful. Thank you for giving us your time. Number one, we were a very wealthy district back when we do our logging. Like I said, in here 50 years, so that has been. But we are now like the rest of a lot of other people, where the levy is part of the way we live. And it's more about if you want a levy or not. I understand the economic thing you're saying, but I think even if it's it's lower, people who don't like levies are still gonna vote no. So,
But people are on the fence and really do want to.
not
No.
an I.
Me as a
You.
parent growing, I mean, I had kids in the school and I had no money.
Right.
So I voted no because I couldn't afford it.
I do understand that.
So
But
if I
we-
could afford it,
Yeah, we have a lot of people that have a lot of, just the whole levy issue versus the funding, and that they shouldn't have to put that into our education system. So I just want to thank you. You've been really patient.
I agree with that, and what you said, because in our Idaho Constitution, state constitution, we're supposed to have the funding for education, right? So all this shouldn't even be applying. I mean, we shouldn't even have to deal with this. We should have the funding coming from the government to the schools, end of question. So I'm just thinking that this is just runaround, like a merry-go-round. You get a levy, you have to pay, the property taxes. I don't think that's fair for the people that own land here. To foot the bill for everybody, it's not right. It should just be coming from the state.
we're working on that.
Yeah.
The legislators in February, there's actually some proposals that are going to be coming through. So, but who's to say that they're going to do anything with them? You know what I mean? It's just, so until then, we have to deal with this.
I just have a question, not a comment, it's a question. Is there a statute, a law, or part of the Constitution that says you have to provide a school for a certain number of students no matter where they're at?
No.
There isn't?
Is there a statute that says you have to provide an education?
Yeah, you have
Children in
You
Idaho
have to
have to be
provide an
educated.
education, but I was wondering if.
I know a school is not.
Unfortunately, no, they don't delineate a school. They do say that, yes, they have to be educated.
This is a very fragile community. I'm amazed at the young families that come and stay and make a living against the odds, and that we're getting new little babies born into Elk City. I think that's wonderful, but we need to be able to sustain them.
A question about the split. State law lets a school district split once.
Just once.
After, let's play it out. Let's say this deconsolidation goes through. Now, whatever school district we're in, that doesn't matter to my question. At that point, is that district capable of splitting again?
Yes.
Yes.
I know it's a long ways down the
Can Elk
road,
City be its own district?
but I think, I think the smallest school district in Idaho has 3 students. So we would be 4 times a bigger school district than that one. I don't know how the money would work out, but I think it's something that should be looked at.
We did look at this.
I think higher grade levels should be looked at, being provided here. I know there's opportunities in the larger schools for some high school students, but maybe not all of them would want, some of that opportunity. I can't see us fielding a 11-man football team and things like that here for quite some time, but that was my question.
Yeah, I'm going to have Alyssa comment on that.
So, just so you know,
I'm going to have her comment
Elk
on that.
City does not have a current enrollment that's large enough to have a school district of their own. You would have charter school eligibility. I am not, I've had a career in public education, so I'm not well versed in charter schools, but there could be a charter school option.
Alyssa, there is a school up north, because I found them online, that's, I think, there's
I'm not
So
getting
one room
texts.
schoolhouse, it's their own district, their school board has 3 members. Are you familiar with that one?
You know, I'm not. I'm guessing that they may have been there prior to the decision that they, when a grandfathered
To me,
situation.
that's what solves the whole problem.
I've asked about Elk City becoming its own school, I just asked because I wanted to know, and I was told no, that there was a charter school option. And I can't help you with charter school, I've been public school educator, I don't know anything about charters.
My biggest question coming in, and I've heard it over and over tonight, is that it's still a little unclear as to why this is happening. And I'm suggesting you've done a lot of great work with your facts and data, that you might preface it right up front with a statement that clearly articulates the reason for the deconsolidation. Or reasons.
There's,
Wait, did he ask what the purpose of the
what
deconsolidation
what
is?
the purpose is.
A preface statement on all of this.
I don't know,
Why
I don't have a
is it-
pre-made statement, but if you even look back in 2006 when Riggins went through deconsolidation, they split off, the same rhetoric that we hear today was being said right back there, that these smaller districts get the second-hand picks and stuff, and there's tension between the communities. And whether it's, you know, true or not, the perception is there that the smaller districts get the short end of the stick. And so I'm not saying to deconsolidate or whatever, or stick together. We just want to give the community an opportunity to decide.
Our geography of our district also makes it more expensive. Because we're the largest land mass district in the state of Idaho, it does cost more money with just all of that comes with it. More buses, more driving, Melanie, doing both. I mean, that's minor, but, and so I'm just kind of a money person, and I just want to keep it as low as possible, and I want it to be as efficient as possible, and it's not efficient right now.
I thought what you said earlier came as close as I heard to a coherent, about tax base assessment per student and the variables and alternatives. And I'd just like to hear more articulation along that line.
Yeah.
To your point, we're kind of an anomaly, 244, we were 241 when we were with Riggins, we were huge. Yeah. But the way Idaho does business, the education business in the state, is small districts. Look up north at Kellogg and Wallace and Rockaway and Cul-de-sac and Midvale and Cambridge and Council and Cami. And I mean, most of the school districts in the state of Idaho are these small, community-based, people support what's theirs, they want to take care of their kids, just like Elk City. I mean, you guys are proof of that. This is your school, these are your kids, this is your community. And so what we have with 244, it came into effect 75 years ago. I don't know when we consolidated. It worked for a while. We got schools built in all these communities. That's all a good thing. It's just not good anymore.
Can I add to that right there? It seems the whole purpose of consolidation way back in the day, like why do we have this huge district, right? It was to build schools. We all come together, so we had the buying power to get the schools up. Well, now you have your schools, and so that purpose is no longer, reason to stick together.
But now we have to keep them open, and this guy's been standing up behind me forever, so let's let him.
Sorry.
Well, this might give you a route out of here. Unlike most people in this room, we've paid our dues. And I have been very strongly against states not totally funding the schools. That's their job. That's what we pay them for. We didn't sign up for an insurance policy 80-20. If all of this effort and concern was put towards strong-arming
our legislators, we would have a better chance, because they're gonna have to figure out how not to spend money creating inflation and put it on our shoulders to come up with the money that they have spent. I came in to Western Washington, born in Moscow, and bought a house, and I was paying $375 a year in taxes. Why did I leave? Because they wanted $8,400 a year in taxes. And the school districts, they all have to file for the levies. It's about our legislators.
Well,
It's about our government. And until you focus on that, until we focus on that, it's not changing.
what's really neat about our area is our legislators on the JFAC committee. Cindy Carlson is one very influential person that could, if she heard from enough people, that would become more of a priority. She is one of them. The JFAC committee is where the money is decided on, and we've been trying to get that JFAC committee. She's also on the education committee. So between those, I mean, she is integral with making this happen.
So why aren't we focused on that?
Because, well, I am, but.
Well, I mean
I think-
everybody in the school district, all the school districts in the state, you know?
We're
hold their
working
feet
on
to the
that.
fire.
So November 6th through the 8th, there's a big conference for all of the school boards in Boise. And there's 2 proposals that they're gonna be lobbying for with the legislators to just end this levy.
Fiasco.
Just make some alternative options. So, but really, if you guys could email Cindy, that would be amazing, because she needs to hear from other people that this is a priority. Because she is one of the main people that could make the change.
There are
We're
people in
told
the
that-
legislature trying to get her off of JFAC, so if you put your effort into some of the senior members of the legislature as well, you'll help keep her on the JFAC.
If she promises to.
And you all gotta vote for her, because she does have an opponent, to keep her in the legislature.
It almost seems to me then, this deconsolidation has caused so much heartburn. But I'm hearing that there are things possibly in the works through the state. I don't know if those things will happen prior to this, because right now I'm wondering why we're even moving forward with this until we get, and some of it is on us as voters, until we get these other things figured out, the state funding. Gosh, what if we did something and half the town doesn't like what happened, and maybe more than half the town, being Elk City, but, and then all of a sudden, we get this funding from the state that would have made everybody in 244 smile.
I also wish for rainbows and pots of gold, but we have budgets in front of us, we have kids we need to educate right now. I can't count on a legislator to make a decision for me.
And can I say
So-
another thing about deconsolidation as far as, Mary said it at the Grangeville meeting, it's not the money. The money is a part of it, definitely. It's about your community supporting your school. And if you just look around at the schools in Idaho, I mean, Alyssa is from Cottonwood. Mary grew up in Cammy, I grew up in Weezer, all community schools. You guys are in Elk City with your school here, kind of away from all the government of you because you're so isolated. It's about 5 people in Grangeville on a school board to run our school the way we want to run our school. That's what local control is. 5 people in Clearwater to run that school in the Clearwater area. And if Elk City could be their own 3-member school board, that would be even better, I think. I just think people support what is theirs. And to me, that's how Idaho does the education business. We're one of maybe 3 consolidated districts in the state of Idaho. We are an anomaly. It's difficult. The government closest to the people governs best.
it's not working. Money, yes, but also trust and community buy-in and happy people in their communities with their schools. You know, it just, to me, when you say deconsolidation isn't necessary if we get the money, I disagree. I still think it's necessary. I think small schools and small communities work better than this big conglomerate that we have here that we've had for 70 years.
Well, I hear you describing a history of success with deconsolidation, and I haven't heard that one before. Okay, so, thank you.
So just as to restate, the only thing that we are voting on, that we have a choice in, is to vote yes or no for deconsolidation. So if the people of Elk City do not want to go to their district being at Clearwater, they need to vote no for deconsolidation.
Or, I mean, there is potential to possibly have a vote. Here's the deal.
But right now,
Yeah,
like
as
you
the-
have the kids,
Yeah.
you need to vote on, or prepare
At
for the
this time.
kids for what we're voting on in May. We are voting yes or no for deconsolidation. If we vote yes for deconsolidation, we will be part of CV.
If the entire district votes that way.
If the deconsolidation
If
happens.
everybody
So-
in the district wants it, if everybody thinks it's a good idea, then yes. And if everybody thinks it's a better idea to stay together, stay
Well,
together.
but that's what we're voting, that's the
That's
only
what
thing
you're
we're
voting on.
voting
This
on
time.
right now.
That's what you're voting on.
80% of us here in this room, that vote has no bearing on it.
Correct.
Our children have gone to school, we're all retired on fixed income. There's a few faces I see here that have children. Those are the people that need to be heard. Not me, my kids graduated. Yeah, I don't wanna see my taxes raised, but I don't wanna see the school go. That's the bottom line, is the school stays in Elk City. But you need to talk to these people that are raising their families here, not me. I raised mine. And the argument about CV or Grangeville, my son graduated, what do you call it? Top of the class.
Top of the class, valedictorian.
What was it? Yeah, the next year, the girl from Elk City was valedictorian.
Mine
My
was
son
also valedictorian in
graduated
Grangeville.
engineer. He graduated magna cum laude. I can go on about kids that have come from Elk City that went to Grangeville or Kuski, and they did very well. The bottom line is talk to the people with children, get their opinion, not mine.
Well, that's kind of why we're looking at deconsolidation, it's because we got so close to no money, no levy. It was like a wake-up call, like, okay, that was really close, and that was the only option. I mean, the only way to, I can't even say, I mean, that's not true either, but it just feels like you have a better chance of staying alive here if you are in a smaller district, like like there is deconsolidation.
Nope.
And Sue, I gotta tell you, it's so frustrating because we listen to you guys and it's like, okay, we did the survey, that's not good. We did this, it's not good. Like, at some point you guys have, Sue, I've known you for 25 years. Like, at some point, there's no way that you're gonna guarantee that going with Grangeville is that you're gonna survive either. So it's frustrating for me that it's always conflict. Like, okay, well now it's Grangeville and CV. And it's like, we're really looking at deconsolidation and it's hard to say if it's gonna survive either way, anyway.
I don't think, I agree with what you're saying, but I still think the bottom line is, we wanted a choice and we didn't get a choice.
You did get a choice in
Last comment,
2023.
Last comment.
I think what we're trying to be easy to work with. A lot of people have said Grangeville or CV, whichever. I think our bottom line is, we always have this thing hanging over our head that our school, you're gonna close our school, we're gonna close our school. That's all we want, is our school open. if we have to pay a little bit more money and it's better to go this way, our children are worth the money. But what, I felt very forced to vote for the levy. In my vote, I would say, oh, better salaries for teachers, oh, more sports. Yes, vote yes, but that wasn't my mindset. I felt like I had a gun to my head because if you don't vote yes, we're not gonna have school. And we didn't have a choice, and even if, it was like we didn't have a choice. We didn't really have a choice.
You had a choice because they told you, people wanted to know, the community asked our board, well, what are you gonna take? Where's this money gonna go? So they took their time to put up a wonderful little thing that when you voted, they told you exactly what that money was going for.
And I wonder, why is Elk City's head, as someone said, on the chopping block?
Valley High School was also.
And I understood that too, but if we were in Grangeville talking about closing Grangeville Elementary, I imagine you would have a lot of parents up in arms. Now we have to sell our house, now the one we worked on, now we have to move somewhere else.
It was all economics.
It seems like
If you
this.
want- If you follow the process, you would see it's all economics.
It's like this, like a dentist would pull everybody's teeth out, your job is to save teeth. The school
And that's
board's
what
job
and that's
is
what
to
we were trying to
educate
do.
children. How do you do that when you close their school and constantly, we're in fear. That's the buzz
I
always.
think it's called bullying.
And that's what it was. Nobody else in the school district has that hanging over their head. We didn't have food. Our food was taken away from our children. Our town fed our kids while Grangeville kids ate and Kuski kids ate, but our kids didn't get food. How is that fair? Why are we getting the short
It
end
may
of
not
the...
be, it's.
Can you
probably
protect
not.
us? We want you to protect us and keep our school open. Can you work on
You
a...
sound just like I did 18 years ago when I was living at Powell, and guess what?
The school closed. And guess what? I had to move. And sometimes that's...
right.
No, exactly. But what I'm saying is the reality is numbers. The reality is money. It takes money to keep these things going, these schools going. And so right now, the funding model is the levy. So
There's not a single board member that wanted to shut Elk
No.
City down. Not a single board
it's the
member.
numbers.
This is a voluntary position, you know that, right? Yeah.
We get paid
We
nothing.
did not want to shut these schools down.
It costs us
We were
money.
just trying to inform you.
We're fighting for our lives, we're scared to death, and we feel like, bully is a strong word, but I mean, we have pressure.
It's just reality. And reality sucks sometimes.
What can you do to change that reality? We'll continue walking around like this.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.